Liam, an 8-year-old boy with a strong moral compass, always believed in protecting those he loved, no matter the challenge. On what was supposed to be the happiest day of his father's life, Liam makes a choice that changes everything. As he watches his dad about to marry Olivia, a woman hiding dark secrets, Liam steps forward to reveal a shocking truth no one could have imagined. His brave act halts the wedding in its tracks, but what follows leaves everyone stunned. Why did Liam's revelation lead to such dramatic consequences? How did this young boy's courage uncover the truth about his father's fiancée, and what ripple effects did it have on their lives? Stay tuned to find out. And before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from today. If this story of bravery and honesty resonates with you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows of the small chapel, casting a warm glow on the gathered guests. The air buzzed with excitement as friends and family whispered among themselves, their eyes darting expectantly toward the entrance. At the altar, Michael Johnson stood tall in his crisp black tuxedo, a nervous smile playing on his lips as he awaited his bride. "You look great, Dad," whispered 8-year-old Liam, fidgeting with the small pillow in his hands. The boy's dark curls were neatly combed, and his miniature suit matched his father's perfectly. But while Michael beamed with joy, Liam's brown eyes were clouded with worry. Michael glanced down at his son and gave him a reassuring wink. "Thanks, buddy. You're the best ring bearer a dad could ask for." He ruffled Liam's hair affectionately, oblivious to the anxiety etched across the child's face. As the first notes of the wedding march filled the air, the congregation rose to their feet. All eyes turned toward the chapel doors, eager to catch a glimpse of the bride. All eyes except Liam's. The boy's gaze remained fixed on his father, his small hands clutching the ring pillow so tightly his knuckles turned white. The doors swung open, revealing Olivia in all her bridal glory. She glided down the aisle, a vision in white lace and silk. Her golden hair cascaded over her shoulders in soft waves, and her blue eyes sparkled with emotion. As she approached the altar, Michael's face lit up with pure adoration. "You look beautiful," Michael whispered as Olivia took her place beside him. She smiled back, her voice barely audible. "I can't wait to start our life together." The officiant began the ceremony, his words washing over the attendees. But for Liam, each passing moment felt like an eternity. He shifted from foot to foot, his eyes darting between his father and Olivia. To anyone watching, it might have seemed like simple nervousness, but there was something deeper, more urgent in the boy's demeanor. As he stood there, young Liam found himself lost in memories of the past few months. His mind drifted back to the day his father, Michael, first introduced him to Olivia. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when Michael had picked Liam up from school, his face beaming with excitement. "I've got someone special I want you to meet, buddy," he had said, practically bouncing in his seat as they drove home. Liam remembered how his stomach had twisted with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Since his mother's passing 2 years ago, it had just been him and his dad. The thought of someone new entering their lives filled him with uncertainty. When they arrived home, Olivia was waiting on the porch, her golden hair catching the late afternoon sunlight. She smiled warmly as they approached, and Liam couldn't help but notice how his father's eyes lit up at the sight of her. "Liam, this is Olivia," Michael had said, his voice filled with pride. She's become very important to me, and I hope she'll become important to you too." Olivia had knelt down to Liam's level, her blue eyes twinkling. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Liam," she said softly. "Your dad talks about you all the time." In that moment, Liam had felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. But as the weeks passed, that hope began to fade. Liam noticed how different Olivia was when his father wasn't around. The warm smiles disappeared, replaced by cold stares and tight-lipped frowns. One particular evening stood out in Liam's mind. Michael had been working late, and Olivia was supposed to watch Liam. As they sat at the dinner table, Liam tried to engage her in conversation. "Miss Olivia," he started hesitantly, "do you like space? We're learning about the solar system in school." And Olivia cut him off sharply, not looking up from her phone. "I'm busy right now. Eat your dinner quietly, please." Liam shrank back in his chair, pushing his food around his plate. The silence that followed was deafening. When Michael was home, however, it was a different story entirely. Olivia would ask Liam about school, laugh at his jokes, and even ruffle his hair affectionately. But Liam could see the falseness in her smile, the strain behind her eyes. Michael, on the other hand, was happier than Liam had seen him in years. He practically floated around the house, humming to himself and breaking into random bouts of dancing that would have embarrassed Liam if they weren't so nice to see. "Isn't Olivia wonderful?" Michael would often say, his eyes twinkling. "We're so lucky to have her in our lives, aren't we, buddy?" Liam would nod and force a smile, not wanting to burst his father's bubble of happiness. But inside, he felt increasingly alone and confused. As the weeks turned into months, Olivia's true nature became more apparent to Liam. She began to make subtle, cutting remarks when Michael wasn't within earshot. "Oh, Liam," she'd sigh at the mess he'd made while working on a school project. "You're such a handful sometimes. I don't know how your father manages." Or, when he'd excitedly show her a good grade on a test, "That's nice, dear, but you know there's always room for improvement." Each comment chipped away at Liam's self-esteem, making him feel like a burden in his own home. He began to withdraw, spending more time in his room and less time in the common areas of the house. One Saturday afternoon, about 3 months before the wedding, an incident occurred that Liam couldn't shake from his memory. Michael had gone out to run some errands, leaving Liam and Olivia alone in the house. Liam was in the living room, watching cartoons and sipping a glass of juice when Olivia walked in. "Turn that off," she snapped, gesturing to the TV. "It's too loud. I'm trying to work." Startled, Liam fumbled with the remote. In his haste, he knocked over his glass, spilling juice all over the coffee table and carpet. "I'm sorry," he cried, jumping up to grab some napkins. "I didn't mean to." Before he could finish, Olivia was there, her fingers digging into his arm as she yanked him away from the mess. "Look what you've done," she hissed, her face twisted with anger. "You clumsy, careless boy." Liam winced at her grip, tears springing to his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whimpered. "I'll clean it up, I promise." Olivia's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You better," she growled, "and if you breathe a word of this to your father, you'll be very, very sorry. Do you understand me?" Liam nodded frantically, his heart pounding in his chest. As soon as Olivia released him, he rushed to clean up the spill, his hands shaking the entire time. That night, when Michael returned home, Olivia greeted him with a kiss and a cheerful, "How was your day, honey?" Liam watched from the stairs, rubbing his arm where Olivia had grabbed him, feeling more alone than ever. As the wedding drew nearer, Liam found himself struggling with the weight of his secret. He wanted desperately to tell his father about Olivia's true nature, but fear held him back. What if Michael didn't believe him? What if it made Olivia even angrier? One evening, about a month before the wedding, Liam finally worked up the courage to approach his father. Michael was in his study, going over some paperwork when Liam knocked timidly on the door. "Come in, buddy," Michael called out, smiling as Liam entered. "What's up?" Liam hesitated, twisting the hem of his shirt in his hands. "Dad," he began slowly, "can I talk to you about something?" Michael set aside his papers, giving Liam his full attention. "Of course, son, you can talk to me about anything. What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, Liam blurted out, "It's about Olivia. I don't think she likes me very much." Michael's brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean, Liam? Olivia adores you." "No, Dad, she doesn't," Liam insisted, his words tumbling out in a rush. "She's different when you're not around. She ignores me, and sometimes she says mean things and—" "Whoa, slow down," Michael interrupted, holding up a hand. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Liam, I know this is a big change for you. It's natural to feel a little unsure about Olivia becoming a part of our family, but I promise you, she cares about you very much." "But Dad—" Liam tried again, but Michael shook his head. "No buts, buddy. Olivia's going to be your stepmother, and I need you to give her a chance. She's trying her best, just like we all are. Okay?" Liam's shoulders slumped in defeat. "Okay, Dad," he mumbled, turning to leave the room. "Hey," Michael called out after him, his voice softening. "I love you, kiddo. We're all going to be just fine. You'll see." As Liam closed the door behind him, he felt a wave of hopelessness wash over him. His father, the person he trusted most in the world, hadn't believed him. or worse, hadn't wanted to believe him. From that day on, Liam stopped trying to tell his father about Olivia's behavior. Instead, he retreated further into himself, becoming quieter and more withdrawn. He began to dread family dinners and outings, knowing that he'd have to pretend everything was fine, while silently enduring Olivia's subtle jabs and cold shoulder. Michael, caught up in the whirlwind of wedding preparations and his own happiness, failed to notice the change in his son. He attributed Liam's quietness to shyness, or perhaps a phase, never suspecting the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. Olivia, for her part, seemed to revel in her victory. With Michael oblivious to her true nature and Liam too afraid to speak up again, she became bolder in her mistreatment of the boy. One afternoon, Liam overheard a conversation between Olivia and her friend Jessica. "I don't know how you do it," Jessica was saying. "Playing mom to someone else's kid? I couldn't handle it." Liam froze in the hallway, holding his breath to hear Olivia's response. "Oh, it's not so bad," Olivia replied, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Liam? Well, he's part of the package, isn't he? You have to take the good with the bad." Jessica laughed. "You're a saint, I swear. If it were me, I'd have shipped the kid off to boarding school by now." Liam didn't wait to hear Olivia's response. He crept back to his room, his appetite forgotten, feeling like he'd been punched in the gut. Part of the package? The bad? Was that all he was to Olivia, an inconvenience she had to tolerate to be with his dad? As the wedding day approached, Liam felt increasingly trapped. He watched as his father and Olivia made plans for their future, barely considering how it would affect him. When they discussed honeymoon destinations or redecorating the house, Liam felt like a ghost, invisible and unimportant. One night, Liam tossed and turned in his bed, unable to sleep. The digital clock on his nightstand blinked 11:42 p.m., its red glow casting eerie shadows across his room. Sighing, he decided to get a glass of water from the kitchen. As he padded down the hallway in his superhero pajamas, Liam froze. A hushed, angry voice drifted from upstairs. It was Olivia. "Alex, you need to listen to me," she hissed into her phone. Liam crouched low, peering around the corner. Olivia paced back and forth, her free hand raking through her disheveled blonde hair. "We can't rush this. Everything has to be perfect." Liam's heart raced. He'd never heard Olivia sound so agitated before. Usually she was all smiles and sweetness, especially around his dad. "The wedding is in 2 weeks," Olivia continued, her voice dripping with frustration. "Once that's done, we move on to phase 2. Yes, the insurance policy. Michael doesn't suspect a thing." "Insurance policy? Phase 2? Liam's young mind whirled with confusion. He knew eavesdropping was wrong, but he couldn't tear himself away. "Look, Alex, I've got it under control," Olivia snapped. "Just stick to the plan. Once we get the money, we'll be set for life. No more scams, no more close calls. This is our ticket out." Liam's breath caught in his throat. Money? Scams? What was Olivia talking about? "That brat Liam is the wild card," Olivia growled, causing Liam to flinch. "He's too observant for his own good. But don't worry, I can handle him. Michael is wrapped around my finger. He'd never believe a word against his precious fiancée." Tears pricked at Liam's eyes. He'd always known Olivia didn't like him, but hearing her talk about him like this, it hurt more than he could have imagined. "Just be ready," Olivia said, her tone final. 2 weeks after the wedding, we strike. Michael won't know what hit him." With that, she ended the call. Liam scrambled back to his room, his heart pounding so loud he was sure Olivia would hear it. He dove under his covers, mind racing with what he'd just overheard. Olivia was planning something bad, and it involved his dad. Money and some kind of insurance policy. Liam didn't understand it all, but he knew one thing for certain. His father was in danger. Sleep eluded Liam that night. He tossed and turned, replaying Olivia's words in his head. When morning came, he stumbled bleary-eyed to the breakfast table, where Michael and Olivia sat, the picture of domestic bliss. "Morning, champ," Michael said cheerily, ruffling Liam's hair. "You look tired? Rough night?" Liam nodded, avoiding Olivia's gaze. "Just couldn't sleep," he mumbled. Olivia's saccharine voice cut through the air. "Oh, poor thing. Probably just excited about the wedding, aren't you, Liam?" Liam looked up, meeting Olivia's eyes. For a split second, he saw a flash of something cold and calculating behind her smile. It sent a shiver down his spine. "Yeah," he lied, forcing a smile. excited. Over the next few days, Liam watched Olivia like a hawk. Now that he knew something was amiss, he started noticing things he'd overlooked before. Olivia was constantly on her phone, typing furiously. Whenever Michael entered the room, she'd quickly lock the screen, plastering on a smile. "Just chatting with the wedding planner, honey," she'd say, or, "Oh, bridesmaid drama." But Liam knew better. He'd catch glimpses of her screen sometimes, rapid-fire texts to someone saved as A in her contacts. Alex, he assumed, the mysterious man from the phone call. Olivia's absences from the house became more frequent, too. She'd make flimsy excuses to leave, often for hours at a time. "Just popping out to finalize some wedding details," she'd chirp, kissing Michael on the cheek, or "meeting the girls for a last-minute dress fitting." Michael, blinded by love and preoccupied with work, never questioned her, but Liam noticed. He noticed everything now. One afternoon, about a week before the wedding, Liam was helping Michael in the garage when Olivia's car pulled into the driveway. She hurried inside, not even glancing their way. "I'm gonna get a snack, Dad," Liam said, wiping his greasy hands on a rag. Michael nodded, engrossed in fixing the lawnmower. "Sure thing, buddy. Bring me a soda while you're at it, will you?" Liam entered the house quietly, hearing Olivia's muffled voice from upstairs. He crept up the stairs, careful to avoid the creaky third step. "Almost there, Alex," Olivia was saying. She was in the guest room, soon to be her and Michael's room after the wedding. "Just a few more days. Keep your shirt on." Liam inched closer to the door, straining to hear her words. "The policy is ironclad," Olivia continued. "Once we're married, it'll be easy. A tragic accident, a grieving widow, and we're set for life. Just stick to the plan." Liam's blood ran cold. A tragic accident? Were they planning to hurt his dad? Suddenly, Olivia's voice dropped to a whisper. Liam leaned in, trying to catch her words. In his eagerness, he bumped against the door, causing it to creak slightly. The room went silent. "I've got to go," Olivia said quickly. "I'll call you later." Liam scrambled back down the hallway, ducking into the bathroom just as the guest room door opened. He heard Olivia's footsteps pause outside the bathroom, then slowly descend the stairs. Breathing heavily, Liam slumped against the bathroom wall. This was worse than he'd imagined. Olivia and this Alex person weren't just after money. They were planning to hurt his dad, maybe even. Liam couldn't bring himself to finish the thought. He had to do something, but who would believe him? His dad thought Olivia hung the moon, and Olivia had made it clear that she could twist anything Liam said against him. For the next few days, Liam was on high alert. He watched Olivia's every move, trying to piece together her plan. She was careful, but sometimes she slipped up. One evening, Liam walked into the study to find Olivia hurriedly closing Michael's laptop. She jumped when she saw him, a guilty look flashing across her face. "Oh, Liam," she said, her voice overly bright. "You startled me. I was just checking some wedding RSVPs." Liam nodded, not believing a word. As soon as Olivia left the room, he went to the laptop. It was locked, but Liam knew his dad's password. It was Liam's birthday. The browser history had been cleared, but one tab remained open. The website for a major life insurance company. Liam's stomach churned. This must be the policy Olivia kept mentioning. He was about to dig deeper when he heard footsteps approaching. Quickly, he closed the laptop and pretended to be looking at the bookshelf. Michael walked in, smiling when he saw Liam. "Hey, sport. What you up to?" "Just looking for a book," Liam lied, hating how easy it was becoming to deceive his father. Michael ruffled his hair affectionately. "That's my boy, always with his nose in a book. Come on, dinner's ready." As they walked to the dining room, Liam's mind raced. He had to find a way to stop Olivia, but how? The next day, Liam got his chance. Michael had a last-minute meeting at work, and Olivia was out on one of her mysterious errands. Liam was alone in the house. With shaking hands, he opened Olivia's sleek silver laptop. It was password-protected, of course. Liam tried a few guesses. Her birthday, the wedding date, but nothing worked. Just as he was about to give up, he noticed a yellow sticky note poking out from under the laptop. Peeling it back, he saw a string of numbers and letters. Could it be? Heart pounding, Liam typed in the code. The laptop sprang to life. Liam's eyes widened as he scrolled through Olivia's files. There were dozens of documents with suspicious names, Michael's schedule, policy details. He clicked on one labeled Insurance Policy. A PDF opened, full of legal jargon Liam couldn't understand, but a few phrases jumped out at him. Accidental death, double indemnity, payout of $5 million. $5 million? Was that what his dad's life was worth to Olivia? Liam's hands shook as he continued searching. He found a folder labeled Alex and opened it. Inside were dozens of photos of a man he'd never seen before, tall, dark-haired, with a scar above his left eyebrow. In some photos, he was alone. In others, he was with Olivia, looking very much like a couple. Liam felt sick. Not only was Olivia planning to hurt his dad, but she was cheating on him too. Suddenly, he heard a car in the driveway. Olivia was back. In a panic, Liam closed all the windows and shut down the laptop. He had just managed to replace it exactly as he'd found it when the front door opened. "Liam?" Olivia called. "Are you here?" "Yeah," he called back, trying to keep his voice steady. "Just doing homework." Olivia appeared in the doorway, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene in the study. "Don't you usually work in your room?" Liam shrugged, avoiding her gaze. "It's quieter here." Olivia stared at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Well, don't work too hard. Dinner will be ready soon." As she turned to leave, Liam caught a glimpse of her phone screen. She was texting someone. The contact name was simply A. That night, as Liam lay in bed, his mind whirled with everything he'd discovered. Olivia and Alex were planning to kill his dad for the insurance money. They were going to wait until after the wedding, then stage some kind of accident. Liam felt overwhelmed. He was just a kid. How was he supposed to stop two grown-ups from carrying out their evil plan? And with the wedding just days away, time was running out. He thought about telling his dad everything, but would Michael believe him? Olivia had spent months painting Liam as a jealous, difficult child. Would his dad trust him over the woman he was about to marry? As he tossed and turned, Liam made a decision. He couldn't just sit back and let this happen. Somehow, some way, he had to stop this wedding. He had to save his dad. With that resolve, Liam finally drifted off to sleep. In his dreams, he saw Olivia and the man from the photos, Alex, laughing over a grave, his father's grave. Liam woke up with a start, drenched in sweat. The dim light of dawn was just beginning to creep through his window. In that moment, as the remnants of his nightmare clung to him, Liam knew what he had to do. He would stop this wedding, no matter what it took. Now back at the wedding, as the officiant began to speak, his words washing over Liam in a meaningless jumble, all he could focus on was the growing panic in his chest. The knowledge that he had to do something, say something before it was too late. If anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. The traditional words hung in the air. This was it. This was Liam's chance. But fear paralyzed him. What if he was wrong? What if no one believed him? What if he ruined everything for nothing? The officiant nodded, about to continue. Liam's heart pounded in his ears. It was now or never. "Wait!" The word burst from Liam's lips before he could stop it. "Stop the wedding!" A collective gasp rippled through the church. All eyes turned to Liam, who stood trembling, his small voice echoing in the sudden silence. "Liam?" Michael turned to his son, confusion and concern etched on his face. "What's wrong, buddy?" Liam's eyes darted from his father to Olivia, who was staring at him with a mixture of shock and barely concealed anger. "Dad?" Liam's voice quavered, but he pressed on. "You can't marry her. She's not who you think she is." Michael knelt down, placing a gentle hand on Liam's shoulder. "What are you talking about, son? Are you feeling okay?" Liam shook his head vehemently. "No, Dad, you don't understand. Olivia, she's been lying to you. She's planning something bad." A murmur ran through the crowd. Olivia let out a nervous laugh, her eyes darting between Michael and the guests. "Oh, sweetie," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I know this is a big change for you. It's okay to feel scared about having a new mom, but this isn't the way to express it." Liam felt a surge of anger at her patronizing tone. "No," he shouted. "That's not it at all. I heard you on the phone with Alex. I know about the insurance policy. You're planning to hurt Dad." The church fell deathly silent. Michael's face paled, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Liam, that's a very serious accusation. Where did you hear such a thing?" "I overheard her, Dad," Liam pleaded. Late at night, she was talking to someone named Alex. They were talking about money and insurance and how they were going to get rid of you after the wedding. Olivia's laugh was higher pitched now, a note of hysteria creeping in. Michael, honey, you can't possibly believe this. It's ridiculous. Alex is my wedding planner. Of course, we've been talking about insurance for the ceremony and money for the caterers and flowers. Liam must have misunderstood, but Liam wasn't backing down. No, that's not true. I saw the insurance policy on your computer. It was for millions of dollars if Dad dies. And I found pictures of you with Alex. He's not just your wedding planner. The crowd was in an uproar now. Guests whispered furiously to each other, some looking scandalized, others concerned. Michael stood frozen, looking back and forth between his son and his bride-to-be. Olivia's face had lost its color, her composed mask slipping. David, she said, reaching for his hand. You know me. You know I would never— This is absurd. Liam is just a child. He doesn't understand what he's saying. Michael's brow furrowed, clearly torn. Liam, he said slowly, these are very serious things you're saying. Are you absolutely sure about what you heard and saw? Liam nodded vigorously, tears welling in his eyes. I'm sure, Dad. I wouldn't lie about this. Olivia's been mean to me for months, but only when you're not around. She makes me feel bad all the time, and now she's planning to hurt you. Please, Dad, you have to believe me. Michael's face was a storm of emotions, confusion, hurt, disbelief. He turned to Olivia, his voice low and strained. Olivia, is there any truth to this? Any at all? Olivia's composure cracked. Her eyes darted around the church, taking in the shocked faces of the guests, the stern look of the officiant, the pleading eyes of Liam. For a moment, she looked like a cornered animal. Then, in a blink, her demeanor changed. Her eyes hardened, her mouth set in a grim line. This is ridiculous, she spat. I don't have to stand here and be accused by a spoiled brat who can't handle sharing his daddy's attention. She turned to the stunned crowd. I'm sorry you all had to witness this tantrum. Clearly, Liam has some issues we need to address as a family. Michael, perhaps we should postpone. But Michael cut her off, his voice quiet but firm. No, Olivia, I think we need to address this now, because if there's even a shred of truth to what Liam's saying— Olivia's eyes flashed dangerously. You can't be serious. You're going to believe the wild imaginings of an 8-year-old over me? Your fiancée? The woman you love? Michael's face was troubled. I love my son too, Olivia, and Liam's never lied to me before. He's not the type to make up stories, especially not something like this. Liam felt a surge of relief. His dad was listening to him, but Olivia wasn't done yet. This is absurd, she cried, her voice rising. I've done nothing but love you, Michael. I've tried to be a mother to Liam, and this is how I'm repaid, with baseless accusations and suspicion? She turned to Liam, her eyes blazing. You little brat, she hissed, forgetting herself for a moment. You've ruined everything. A collective gasp went up from the audience. Michael's eyes widened in shock at Olivia's outburst. In that moment, he saw a side of her he'd never witnessed before, and it chilled him to the bone. Olivia, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. What have you done? Olivia seemed to realize her mistake. She backpedaled quickly, forcing a laugh. Oh, Michael, can't you see? The stress, it's all too much. Liam's outburst, these ridiculous accusations, I just lost my temper for a moment. Surely you can understand. But the damage was done. Michael took a step back, his eyes never leaving Olivia's face. No, he said slowly. No, I don't think I can understand. Because the Olivia I thought I knew would never speak to my son that way, no matter how upset she was. He turned to Liam, kneeling down to look his son in the eye. Liam, I need you to tell me everything, from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. And so, with all eyes upon him, Liam began to speak. He told his father about Olivia's cold behavior when they were alone, the cruel comments and the physical intimidation. He recounted the overheard phone conversations, the suspicious absences, the secret messages to A. He described finding the insurance policy on Olivia's computer and the photos of her with Alex. As Liam spoke, Michael's face grew increasingly pale. The guests listened in stunned silence, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others nodding as if pieces of a puzzle were falling into place. Olivia stood rigid, her eyes darting between Michael and the exit. As Liam's story unfolded, her composed facade crumbled completely. By the time he finished, she looked like a completely different person from the radiant bride who had walked down the aisle just minutes before. "Is this true?" Michael asked, his voice heavy with pain and betrayal. "Olivia, look me in the eye and tell me none of this is true." Olivia's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Her eyes, once full of false warmth, now held only cold calculation. In that moment, Michael saw the truth, and it broke his heart. "I think," Michael said, his voice shaking slightly, "that this wedding is over." A commotion broke out in the church. Guests began to stand, some moving towards the exits, others crowding closer to hear what was happening. In the chaos, Olivia saw her chance. With a snarl of frustration, she turned and bolted down the aisle, her white dress billowing behind her. She pushed past shocked guests, making a beeline for the church doors. "Stop her," someone shouted, but Olivia was quick. She burst through the doors and out into the bright sunlight, leaving behind a scene of utter chaos. The church erupted into turmoil as Olivia fled, her bridal gown fluttering like a ghostly apparition. Michael, still reeling from the revelations, snapped into action. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and dialed 911. "Yes, hello?" Michael said, his voice trembling. "I need to report a crime. My fiancée? She was planning to kill me for insurance money. She just ran from our wedding. Please, you need to find her." As Michael spoke to the dispatcher, providing Olivia's description and last known direction, Liam stood rooted to the spot, overwhelmed by the tumultuous events he had set in motion. A mix of relief and anxiety churned in his stomach. He had saved his father, but at what cost? The guests, a moment ago seated in reverent silence for a joyous occasion, now buzzed with shock and speculation. Some rushed outside, hoping to catch a glimpse of the fleeing bride. Others huddled in small groups, whispering furiously and casting furtive glances at Michael and Liam. Michael ended the call and turned to his son, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. He knelt down, placing his hands on Liam's shoulders. "Liam," he said, his voice hoarse, "I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you sooner. I should have seen." Liam threw his arms around his father's neck, burying his face in Michael's shoulder. "It's okay, Dad," he mumbled, his voice muffled. "I'm just glad you're safe." Michael hugged his son tightly, tears welling in his eyes. For a moment, the chaos around them faded away, and it was just father and son, united against the storm. Their moment was interrupted by the arrival of the police. 2 officers entered the church, their presence immediately commanding attention. The murmur of voices died down as everyone turned to watch. "Mr. Johnson?" one of the officers asked, approaching Michael and Liam. Michael stood, keeping one hand on Liam's shoulder. "Yes, that's me." "I'm Officer Davis, and this is my partner, Officer Ramirez," the policeman said. "We need to ask you some questions about what happened here." As Michael began recounting the events to the officers, Liam's attention was drawn to a commotion near the church entrance. A tall man with dark hair and a scar above his left eyebrow was trying to push his way inside, looking frantic. Liam's heart leapt into his throat. He recognized the man from the photos he'd seen on Olivia's computer. It was Alex. "Dad," Liam whispered urgently, tugging on Michael's sleeve. "Dad, that's him. That's Alex." Michael's head snapped up, following Liam's gaze. His eyes widened in recognition, remembering the description Liam had given earlier. "Officers," Michael said quickly, "that man by the door. I think he's involved in this. He's the one my son overheard Olivia talking to on the phone." The officers reacted swiftly. Officer Davis stayed with Michael and Liam, while Officer Ramirez moved quickly towards Alex, who was now trying to back out of the church. "Sir, stop right there," Officer Ramirez called out. Alex froze for a split second, his eyes darting around like a cornered animal. Then, in a burst of panic, he turned and ran. Officer Ramirez gave chase, shouting into his radio for backup. The wedding guests watched in stunned silence as the officer disappeared through the church doors in pursuit of the mysterious man. "Mr. Johnson," Officer Davis said, his voice calm but authoritative, "I think it would be best if you and your son came down to the station to give a full statement. We'll need to gather all the evidence you have regarding Olivia's plans." Michael nodded, still looking shell-shocked. "Of course, whatever you need." "Liam, buddy, are you okay to go with us to the police station?" Liam nodded bravely, though his heart was racing. "Yeah, Dad, I want to help." As they prepared to leave, Michael's best man, Tom, approached them. "Mike," he said, placing a comforting hand on his friend's shoulder. "What do you want us to do about all this?" He gestured vaguely at the church full of confused and concerned guests. Michael ran a hand through his hair, looking overwhelmed. I don't know, Tom. I guess tell everyone to go home. Apologize on my behalf. I can't deal with this right now." Tom nodded understandingly. "Don't worry about it, man. I'll take care of everything here. You just focus on you and Liam, okay?" Michael managed a weak smile. "Thanks, Tom. I don't know what I'd do without you." As Michael and Liam left the church with Officer Davis, they could hear Tom addressing the crowd, his voice steady and reassuring as he explained the situation and asked everyone to return home. The ride to the police station was surreal. Liam sat in the back of the police car, watching the familiar streets of his hometown pass by in a blur. Everything looked the same, and yet everything had changed. His father sat beside him, uncharacteristically quiet, his eyes unfocused as he stared out the window. At the station, Michael and Liam were led to a small, plain room with a table and a few chairs. Officer Davis assured them it wasn't an interrogation room, just a quiet place where they could talk without interruptions. For the next few hours, Michael and Liam recounted their experiences with Olivia. Liam described the overheard phone conversations, the cruel treatment when Michael wasn't around, and his discovery of the insurance policy and photos on Olivia's computer. Michael, still looking shell-shocked, filled in the gaps with details about his relationship with Olivia, trying to pinpoint when things might have started to go wrong. As they talked, more pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Olivia had suggested increasing Michael's life insurance policy just a month after they got engaged, citing concerns about Liam's future if anything were to happen to Michael. She had also been pushing for them to take up more dangerous hobbies together: rock climbing, skydiving, even swimming with sharks on their honeymoon. "I thought she was just adventurous," Michael said, his voice hollow. "I never imagined." Liam reached out and took his father's hand, squeezing it reassuringly. Michael managed a small smile, grateful for his son's unwavering support. As the day wore on, more information trickled in. Officer Ramirez had managed to apprehend Alex a few blocks from the church. Under questioning, he had quickly cracked, revealing the full extent of the plan he and Olivia had concocted. Olivia, it turned out, was not even her real name. She was actually Emily Clark, a con artist with a long history of seducing wealthy men and then disappearing with their money. Alex was her longtime partner, both in crime and in life. They had been pulling these scams for years, but had never attempted anything as ambitious or as deadly as their plan for Michael. The insurance policy Liam had discovered was just the tip of the iceberg. Olivia, or Emily, had been systematically isolating Michael from his friends and family, subtly manipulating him into changing his will to leave everything to her. The plan had been to stage an accident on their honeymoon, collect the insurance money and Michael's estate, and then disappear to start a new life together. As the full scope of Olivia's deception became clear, Michael seemed to crumple in on himself. "How could I have been so blind?" he whispered, more to himself than to Liam or the officers. "How could I not have seen what was happening?" Officer Davis, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up with sympathy. "Mr. Johnson, don't blame yourself. These people are professionals. They've done this before, and they're very good at manipulating others. The important thing is that they didn't succeed, thanks to your son." Michael looked at Liam, a mix of pride and lingering guilt in his eyes. "You're right," he said softly. "Liam saved my life today. I wish I had listened to him sooner." Feeling a surge of love for his father, Liam leaned into Michael's side. "It's okay, Dad. We're okay now." As the day turned to evening, there was still no sign of Olivia. She seemed to have vanished into thin air after fleeing the church. The police assured Michael and Liam that they were doing everything they could to find her, but warned them that she was experienced in disappearing. "We've put out an APB and alerted all local and state law enforcement," Officer Davis explained. "We're also monitoring airports, bus stations, and car rental agencies. But I have to be honest with you, she had a head start, and she knows how to cover her tracks." Michael nodded wearily. "I understand. Thank you for everything you're doing." As they prepared to leave the station, Officer Davis handed Michael his card. "If you remember anything else, or if Olivia tries to contact you, please call me immediately, day or night." Michael pocketed the card, then turned to Liam. "Ready to go home, buddy?" Liam nodded, suddenly feeling the weight of the day's events. He was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. The drive home was quiet, both father and son lost in their thoughts. As they pulled into their driveway, Michael turned off the engine but made no move to get out of the car. "Liam," he said softly, turning to face his son, "I owe you an apology. A big one." Liam looked at his father, surprised. "For what, Dad?" Michael sighed heavily. "For not listening to you. For not seeing how Olivia was treating you. For putting you in danger by bringing that woman into our lives." Liam was quiet for a moment, considering his father's words. Then, with a wisdom beyond his years, he said, "Dad, you were just trying to be happy and make us happy. You couldn't have known what Olivia was really like." Michael's eyes welled with tears. "But I should have seen how she was affecting you. I should have noticed that you weren't happy." Liam reached out and took his father's hand. "I didn't want to ruin things for you. You seemed so happy with her. I thought maybe I was the problem." Michael's heart broke at his son's words. He pulled Liam into a fierce hug, mindless of the awkward angle across the car seats. "Never, Liam. You could never be the problem. You're the best thing in my life, and I'm so sorry if I ever made you doubt that." They sat there for a long moment, holding each other, letting the tears flow freely. It was a catharsis, washing away the pain and fear of the past months. Finally, Michael pulled back, wiping his eyes. "What do you say we go inside and order a ridiculous amount of pizza? I think we've earned it." Liam managed a small smile. "Can we get stuffed crust?" Michael laughed, the sound a bit watery but genuine. "Buddy, after today, you can have whatever kind of pizza you want." As they walked into the house, both Michael and Liam felt a weight lift from their shoulders. The specter of Olivia Emily still loomed, but they would face that together. For now, they were home, they were safe, and they had each other.